All right, guys. So Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. This is the fight I wanted to talk about. And I'm on the team currently where I do feel like it was a robbery, and I do think it should be that way because, like, credit to Mario for what he did in the first round. I'm not taking away from anything that he did, but they always say we score it by round basis. Aldo was getting work done in second and third round. Like, obviously, I don't really think the third round was questionable because the second round definitely went to Aldo, where he nearly finished, you know, Mario. Uh, so, man, I think, like, honestly, it's safe to say that Mario's next fight, he's probably going to punch up in the rankings, and I'm probably going to be, betting for whoever is, whoever's fighting Mario, whoever he chooses to go against, as long as he's going up in competition, because Mario still has credentials in the UFC. By the way, I'm not saying that he's not a good fighter, but I just don't think he won this fight. So when he, in the Octagon interview, when he talked about, like, it's not my fault that I got the cage control time, a lot of people are going to be looking at that way when it was like a panic wrestle to negate all the striking that was going on. And that also kind of makes me kind of upset because it's like they always interchange those excuses. Like with Sean O'Malley versus Piotr Jan, Jan can take O'Malley down and grind him out, even though the striking is pretty close. Jan can do that and not just like pin him against the fence, but actually get him down on the ground and kind of like smother him a little bit. And then they go and they say, oh, you know what? Jan didn't do enough ground and pound. But then when Mario Bautista goes for cage control times, even though like Aldo was stuffing a majority of those takedowns, he was stuffing a majority of those takedowns, and it was, man, it was so frustrating because they're always going to interchange these excuses, and you're starting to see now why UFC judges are starting to get the same rep that boxing judges have, where it's like, okay, now they're going to start ignoring stuff, they're going to interchange the rules or everything, or even like if a judge has a personal bias against a certain fighter, because a lot of us might look at a fight objectively, but there are people in positions who shouldn't be in those positions, unfortunately. So, yeah, no, I really feel like Jose Aldo was robbed in that one. But, yeah, no, it all just kind of boils down to, UFC, judges and all that, and them interchanging and always having different opinions on, panic wrestling, striking, or everything. And I feel like if you're striking, then, yeah, wrestling should be looked at a certain way, which honestly in some fights it actually has been, where like the striking is not going in their way and they shoot for a takedown and get a takedown, but the striker still wins. So it always interchanges, is always kind of like doing this, and it's a very slippery slope that we run down. And I don't care what you say, I don't think slippery slope is a logical fallacy like a lot of people say it is at all. It just doesn't. It doesn't even seem like that, because one thing could lead to 10 other things, or scenario A somehow hops to scenario Z sometimes. With people, you never know. But, that's what I got. That's what I'm catching from this fight. So I think, like, even with Mario Bautista, he can't control the whole the whole of what the judges are doing, right? And he did give Jose Aldo credit in his Octagon interview. But, I think the one thing that he really should not have gone with during that interview was saying, like, that the cage control wasn't really his problem or anything like that. Like, he was trying to give himself a little bit more credit on that fight. Okay, but I actually kind of understand why a lot of people would boo at that. The Utah crowd, you could tell, didn't really like him very much after that. And I think that he just probably fumbled a little bit with how he's going to be treated PR-wise in the future. So I'm expecting for Mario's, stuff that he's probably going to be justifying that a lot. I think he's probably going to double down. It is what it is. He's going to do what he's going to do. But you could tell that he's probably going to be put up for probably a higher profile fight, and we'll see how he does there. And if he wants to get an actual win up in the legitimate rankings, he's probably got to step it up, because if a 38, I think, year old Jose Aldo is able to, arguably win that fight against him when he's much younger, he needs to step up and kind of look at his game otherwise. Like the guys that are around his age and are the top guys of bantamweight, they're going to give him a lot more problems than experience. But, I'm going to say one thing, though. Mario did really good in that first round. I really did think in the first round, Mario's probably a little bit better than I thought. But like I said, second and third round, it was super arguable that Jose took both of those. So, yeah, I'm disappointed by the decision. I think they disrespected Jose Aldo. So in a lot of our hearts, Jose Aldo won that fight. And, I'm not expecting us to come up with a solution for this kind of stuff. But when it comes to things like, does panic wrestling help, or does controlling someone on the ground if they're not ground and pounding, because these rules always change from fight to fight, and it tends to be so convenient that it is frustrating. If we always had the same rule to justify robberies or what could be conceived as robberies or questionable decisions, it would be less frustrating, but they always move the goalpost. But that's what I gotta say. But you know what? Congrats to Mario Bautista. Jose Aldo, I am so sorry.